Hi there. I just thought I'd give you some feedback from ourselves. We had direct experience of being brought back by HMS Albion. Just to give you some of the sort of maybe rather tedious details of the experience, but what I want to emphasise is how helpful the Navy were in the whole experience and how well organised it was. I was one of the civilians repatriated by HMS Albion on the 21st of April 2010. We're a family of 4 with 2 girls aged 11 and 14. We're scheduled to return to Gatwick with Air Europa from Miami via Madrid on the 18th of April. We were able to get to Madrid on schedule on the 17th and then hit a brick wall. We were subsequently, as a result of that, scheduled to return to Gatwick on the 27th, so we had this huge, more than 1 week stay with all the costs involved. Air Europa agreed to pay for the hotel full board, but after 1 day of payment they advised they wouldn't pay any more, so we agreed to pay the next day directly. There was no chance of getting a coach, train, boat or hire car to the UK. They're all booked out and clogged. Not impressed with the uncontrolled profiteering of coach, car hire, ferry and hotels. Good idea if their profits were redirected to airlines who've suffered considerably. Perhaps government windfall tax. I sympathise with government who always get criticised. Without a state of emergency, there's little they can do other than put pressure on commercial carriers. On Monday, we learned of the rescue at 10 p.m. in our hotel lobby in Madrid, with a deadline of getting to the consulate at 11 o'clock. We heard it from a fellow guest. They'd been a delegation to the consulate from our hotel the previous day. They were called and notified that there was this rescue attempt, but we weren't until we bumped into this guy in the lobby. So we packed it very, very quickly and managed to get there by 11 o'clock and got accepted. Our passports were checked and luggage scanned. Everything was then done with military precision after that. Refreshments were provided in the consulate offices on the 30-something floor of one of the few sort of high tower blocks in Madrid. Very well appointed offices. Allocated consulate staff had these high visibility vests, yellow with British Council emblazoned on them, all very well organised. Anyway, we departed by coach, 5 big coaches charging through the night to Santander. We left at midnight and arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning. We stopped on the journey at 3 o'clock in the morning at a 24-hour cafe stop, arrived about 7, escorted through Santander by local police, traffic was stopped and etc. Parked a car park for a few hours. We had access to exhibition centre for refreshments. Back on buses at 20 to 10, got to the ship. The ship departed I think about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Passports rechecked by UK officials and we cleared by Spanish customs, then passports checked again for access to the ship. It was all very secure. The Navy were there to help carry luggage. The Army 3rd Rifles were already on board. Most civilians with families got cabins vacated by the naval officers. We were not given a cabin but put on the open vehicle deck on canvas camping beds. A bit cold in the open deck but okay. All got sleeping bags except us. We got 2 sleeping bags, only between 4, but were the exception. I asked for extra bags and after a few attempts a Navy person got me 2 duvets. Not ideal as the cold comes up through the canvas of the bed, but I planned to put newspapers and towel on the bottom to cover that. Miracle then happened. Servicemen who were on holiday and given a cabin just came down and offered us their cabin allocations, no prompting, just off their own bat. They had heard there were families in the open deck and said they were used to sort of sleeping in those sort of conditions. My wife was slightly embarrassed and said no thanks initially, but eventually caved in. Gratefully caved in. Gratefully accepted the cabins. They helped us move our luggage to the cabin. My wife and 2 kids had 1 cabin to themselves and I shared it with the ship's chaplain. He had retained his cabin for obvious reasons. He needed private consultations perhaps with naval staff. Interesting chat with chaplain, born in Port Glasgow. Details. We were fed good breakfast, lunch and dinner at regular sittings, 2 sittings per meal. We either ate with the sailors or redirected to warrant officer mess. Very efficient. Queue for food, self-service, usually 2 main options. Had things like turkey, pasta, beef stew, curry, vegetable pie. Ate for 10 minutes or so and then vacated the seat for the next person, so it was a rapid turnaround. It was just interesting to be on a naval vessel and see all this happening. Coffee, tea and fruit drinks available all the time on the vehicle deck. We had run of the ship, except for certain secure areas, and had to keep certain doors shut at all times. They're open and closed with large central wheel on both sides. On the second day, supper was moved from 7:15 to 4 o'clock, as we were scheduled to berth in Portsmouth at 8 o'clock. Boredom on board was a challenge, meals a highlight, but there was continuous DVD screening of movies in the assembly room. We could access the flight deck, as basically half of the top of the back half of the whole ship is used for helicopters. 250 civilians, about 600 army, and about 400 naval staff. Navy staff exceptionally helpful, and if asked, were keen to explain workings and routine on board. Basically, accommodation was civilian families in cabins, military medics and civilians on vehicle deck with camping beds and sleeping bags, bulk of military on vehicle deck with sleeping bags only on the floor. Army uniforms very good: desert camouflage, good boots, t-shirts, shirts, fleeces, warm waterproof fleece-lined jackets. It's rather cool for civilians coming home with only summer gear. Army less forthcoming than Navy in chatting, but still generally very friendly. They had been in Afghanistan for 4+ months and been bounced back via Cyprus and Spain to get their R&R. All sympathy to them. I've never seen so many fit blokes in one group. They even put on fitness competition on flight deck, and the civilian football team, largely 15 and black, took part. They was much the quickest at the running, but pants at the press-ups. Got back to Portsmouth, lots of waving, escorted to port by police launches, secure naval berth. Army often away first, then civvies ourselves. We're given packed lunch, again amazing, and boarded coaches to one of the 3 optional meeting points in Portsmouth. Happily a friend came to pick us up and drive us home to Farnham. Summary: amazing privilege and relief to get back, held back. We only use spare capacity on already scheduled boat trips, so little extra cost to taxpayer or inconvenience to Army. Impressed with Army and Navy and Air Force. My dad was RAF fighter pilot personnel. The Navy in particular are always volunteering to help each other or offering to share chocolates etc. with mates. Very close, supportive community. Hope this was a helpful and direct feedback on my experience on board HMS Albion. Bye for now.